the luxury market. Let's talk about the luxury market for a second. You know, I've had lunch and dinner with, I know that a number of you in this room over the years, and I think in 2007 or 2008 when everything kind of went to hell, a lot of us talked about the luxury market going away, disappearing. You know, that these high-end appliances probably wouldn't be necessary anymore in most of the homes around America. But indeed, in December, Joachim Schmidt, the executive vice president of Mercedes-Benz, said that in December we posted a new sales record again, the key word there being again. 12 months of sales records at Mercedes-Benz. Will be the biggest selling year in our history, 2012. If there's an icon for luxury in America, it's Mercedes-Benz. If there's an icon for conspicuous consumption, it's Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz up 12.4% last year. Now, if there's another icon for luxury, it's BMW. And their business was up 17.9%. And does anybody in here own a 6 Series BMW? Nobody. 6 Series BMW, one of the most expensive cars in their line, up 67%. So the luxury market is back, and the luxury market's back in a big way, and we'll see why here in a second. The luxury market index increased 8.8% in 2012, and the stock market affects this customer. I was saying that 20% of the consumers, who are luxury consumers, own 80% of the stocks. And that's your customer. You sell this customer, because this is the customer that wants service, they want selection, they want high-end, and they are going to be in your stores, and they're going to be remodeling their kitchens, and they're going to be buying high-end product. Now, if there's an icon for clothing, we all know that it's Nordstrom's, up 13.8% this year. High-end, luxury again. Saks. You know Saks as Saks Fifth Avenue. I know them as Saks Inc. Now, you're looking at that number on the board for Saks, and you're saying, oh my gosh, Joe, 5.5%? What kind of a performance is that? But this is really a great story because Saks Inc., when the new owners came in, they drove the business up, sales up 5.5%. But their margins up 41%. A high-end store is selling even higher-end product year over year. So that's good news for the luxury business. And Rolex. Now, I'm not sure how many people in here have a gold presidential Rolex, but when we were at the president's meeting in Las Vegas, there was a watch boutique downstairs, and I was talking about Rolex, and I saw it, and I went in and I said, what does a gold presidential Rolex cost? And the lady looked me right in the eye and she said, $35,000. And I said, thank you, and I started to walk out, and she stopped me and she said, well, wait a minute, but for you today, $28,000. She cut the price $7,000, and I just turned my back on her. I went back to my room and I looked it up, and the price of a gold Rolex is $25,000. And that's steep in my mind, that's steep. And yet Rolex is up 27.1% this year. So the luxury market is back. And sales of $1 million homes are up 34% since June. Now, I can remember, and I know that some of the news that we would all get is that $1 million homes, these McMansions of the baby boomers, they're done. That they're going to be sitting in empty fields somewhere and no one's going to be able to afford to live in them. And today, there's a shortage of these $1 million homes. That's hard to believe, isn't it, from all the things that we've seen. We are continuing to sell luxury in this country, and as a matter of fact, this luxury market will grow faster than the mass market. And I know that when Tom Arndt had me in charge of independent sales the last few years, that our KitchenAid and our Jenn-Air business actually grew faster than our mass business, our Whirlpool and our Maytag business, as a percent. And that business is coming back. And that business will remain strong over the next 10 years. You will see that in your stores as we move forward. And I think many of you have already seen it because I know we used to see it in our numbers. Okay, so you're going to kill me on this next section. I know that. I guess I got to get prepared for it. I feel like Marco Rubio. Okay, so warning to all of you out there that all these numbers and all these facts you've been listening to for the last 30 minutes or so, not important. Not important. Most Americans don't follow this stuff. Most Americans don't even understand this stuff. It's not the facts that are important. It's how we feel about the facts that are important. It's about how Americans feel about the facts. And how you feel about the facts drives behavior. So when your brother or your sister lose a job, it makes you feel a certain way. When your next door neighbor's house, that's a friend of yours, let's say, goes into foreclosure, it makes you feel a certain way and act a certain way. See, as human beings, we tend to think the worst of any situation and think that it's going to happen to us. And if some rep that calls on you gets downsized in an organizational change, it makes us feel a certain way. And as leaders of your organization, as all of you are leaders in here in some way, in some fashion, that your people are better salespeople and they're more motivated if they believe and if they feel like we're on a good course. Now, I used to do this for Whirlpool almost every phone call, every month at least. And we have an RSD in the room here, Jimmy Clark from Florida, and he coined the term Higgonomics. And I did this in the darkest days of the recession. Right, Jimmy? And we tried to keep our salespeople feeling good and feeling up and feeling positive and feeling motivated. And I'll tell you that that's what we all need to do. Because as you saw, the numbers are pretty good. The numbers point us to a way that says, hey, we're going to have a pretty good 2013. And beyond that, they look even better than what we were seeing. Okay? So keep that in mind. And I want to end here with an important page, the one that I put together that I thought was really important for those of you in the room. And that's the demographics and some of the changes that we're seeing among independent retail. First of all, Bob and I were having lunch about 2 months ago. And I remember giving Bob a statistic. Matter of fact, it was this statistic. That boomers, baby boomers, make up 78% of all consumer spending. And Bob said, yeah, I believe that. I said, well, geez, I don't. And I triple-checked it. I had to triple-check this number. And let me just see a show of hands. Who in the room here was born prior to 1964? Just raise your hand. All right, Bob, there's your answer, right? There's your answer. Baby boomers make up 78% of consumer spending, and that is your customer. That's who you sell. That's who comes into your door. And anybody in the room here that's 48 years old? Anybody? Don't worry, I won't say anything. 48 years old. This is the part about being 48 years old, 47, 48. That's the year that you, this can be good news or bad news, depending on how you take it. But that's the year that you spend more money than any other time in your life. And that's where the boomers are. The youngest boomer is 48 years old. The youngest boomer. Now, we hear a lot about Gen X and Gen Y and how they're not going to shop in your stores. But the one thing we find about demographics is that demographics aren't defined by a generation. They're defined by your age. So that when Gen X and Gen Y, oops, I went backwards there. When Gen X and Gen Y get to be 40, 41, 42 years old, guess what? They become customers of independent retail. They want selection. They want service. They want the same things that the boomers wanted when they were that age. So they're going to continue to have an effect on your business. Now, as I said before, when I started my career here, I've been in independent retail for most of my life. I've lived and died independent retail. And my career is really based around this business and all of you in this room here. And I've had bad news about independent retail and outlet share for 20 years. But in 2012, I'm very happy to report that for the first time in a long time, TrackLine Stevenson data said that for rolling 12, outlet share for independent retail is up 0.4%. That is huge, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that you should give yourselves a hand for that number. So everything's coming together here, right? You're having a great outlet share, the business is coming back, it's way better than it has ever been before. And now, for the first time, Sam and I were talking last night, told me that industry hasn't been up since 2006. And so for the first 6 weeks of 2013, industry's up 5.4%. And as a matter of fact, last week, breaking news, industry was up 13.1%. So this business is coming back. One thing to note, that all generations are aspirational. So when you think that, hey, there are customers out there that are not going to shop in your stores because they don't want to buy high-end stuff anymore, they do. Like I said, age defines behavior more than generational expectations that we have. Okay, so I'm not sure about you, but I hear all the bad news that you guys hear. And I get up in the morning and I get on the freeways in Los Angeles. I know some of you live in rural markets. And I get on the freeway at 7 o'clock and the freeway in Los Angeles looks just like that. And I say to myself, if nobody's working, why are they all on the freeway at 7 o'clock in the morning? If you go out to restaurants in your city, and you walk in on a weekend and there are wait times, and there are people sitting all around the restaurant. I know that we had a meeting, Tom Arndt had a meeting in Chicago just a few months back, and I took some of the guys out to dinner that night. And this is in downtown Chicago, and we got in around 5:30, and the place had a 45-minute wait. And I looked around and I said, why are all these people in here eating and spending money if they don't have jobs? Right? Remind your teams that 92% of Americans today are working. And even in the darkest days of this recession, 90% were working. It's important to keep your teams positive. Stay positive. Keep your employees positive, and you'll have a better outcome in the longer term. I believe that we are on the verge of a breakout year. And think about where we've been. We've been in one of the worst recessions in U.S. history, certainly in our lifetimes. And today we see everything on the other side of that recession is way better than where we were. Think about unemployment. We had predictions of 25% unemployment, and today we're at 7.9%, and we're predicting 12 million jobs in the next 4 years. The market, I told you the market went from 66.26 on March 9th, 09, and it's flirting with record highs today. Record highs. And housing. You guys have been disproportionately hurt, I said this before, by the housing market. We've gone from under 400,000 and we're going to build 1 million units today. That's great for your business. You will be disproportionately helped by the housing market. And you can't deny that luxury has come back. That's an important set of numbers for your business. And demographics are in your favor. And I hate to say this because I know this is kind of a cliche, but this is your year. This is your year to make a difference. Be prepared for it. Be prepared for it, because this is coming. This is going to change our industry in a big way. I always like doing this kind of stuff. I always enjoy being here. I appreciate you guys so much coming, and thanks so much. I'm looking forward to coming back here someday and looking at the prosperity and the wealth that this next cycle, this next 10-year cycle is going to create. Thank you so much. I'm going to be around the show. I'll see you all soon.